Hey guys, this is Dagon123, and welcome to
Tenchicast.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the next exciting episode of Tenchicast, presented by Tenchiforum.com. For the first time in over a decade, a new main cast Tenchi series has started broadcasting, and it is called Ai Tenchi Muyo. And so Tenchicast's journey into Ai Tenchi Muyo begins. And for those of you listening, I will bring this up now, we will be talking about spoilery things, so if you haven't seen all 15 minutes of footage, I would recommend watching our supercut of the video beforehand in the description below, or by going to Tenchiforum.com. And to start that wonderful journey is a diverse and fantastic cast of people today. Crazed.
I dedicate this podcast to Chuck, who may or may not be with us in the coming future.
Pie.
Welcome back to class, everybody!
A newcomer, YouTube personality, MangaMan.
Konnichiwa, party peeps. Glad to join the Tenchicast today.
Nil.
Ah, man, that hits the spot. Nothing like a great cup of black coffee.
Our Tenchi Forum Translations translator and another first-timer, Titan of Chaos.
Why, hello there.
And who?
No, wait. I had something good for this. Screw it. How's it going, everybody?
What has been both your favorite moment and least favorite moment in the first 5 episodes?
My favorite moment so far is probably got to be in the 3rd episode, where he and Washu go back and forth talking to each other as he's strapped down into that chair, because damn if that didn't feel like good old classic Tenchi to me again. I don't really have any least favorite moments. I don't hate any part of the show, but I guess the one that I kind of went, is that really necessary? Really, was the panty shots of Momo. I was like, I don't really know that we needed all that. But I know this is a high school anime, so that's to be expected. But that's my only real complaint, I guess, and other than that, I'm loving every bit of it so far.
I'm going to echo pretty much exactly what Craze said. The show started off with Tenchi being kind of wandering around lost, and then out of nowhere, this big peach-shaped panty comes straight at his face, and I'm like, okay. So it's a bit of a very strange, jarring incident now, admittedly. That seems to be the thing with high school anime, is that kind of uneasiness and borderline inappropriateness right there. But that's definitely my least favorite moment, is pretty much the opening of the show. However, sticking through it and getting to episode 3, oh my god, if that wasn't straight out of Tenchi Muyo in Love. The entire exchange between Tenchi and Washu is 100% Tenchi. Folks, for any of you who are on the fence as to whether or not this is going to be Tenchi or not, hold off to episode 3. There are only 5 minutes, so trust me, you can wait 5 minutes, 10 minutes total. But if you get to episode 3, you watch episode 3, trust me, you will feel the love that is Tenchi once again when you see Washu and Tenchi talking to each other.
Well, I'm going to be totally original and say that my favorite was episode 3, the exchange between Washu and Tenchi. We had a little sneak peek of Washu in episode 2, but this was the first one where we got full-on Washu action and all of the goodness that it is. And my least favorite, I wouldn't exactly say moment, but my least favorite thing that I'm seeing so far is the repetitiveness of the jokes, of certain ones in particular. Especially the very repetitive joke of Tenchi being strapped down and attempted to be tortured upon or raped upon by the girls in question, or the constant panty shots that Crazed was talking about earlier.
Well, favorite parts? You gotta definitely go with the usual response, the Washu appearance, and the conversation the two of them have, where she's just kind of hacking away at this, at her new dimensional fancy laboratory. It's a little bit different from her old one, and just Tenchi being just apprehensive and kind of like, he knows that he's not going to get out of the situation, but he's at least trying to ease himself into it, while Washu's just like pushing, like, okay, come on, we got to get this going. And it definitely felt like old school Tenchi to me. It's just, he's talking, but she's not really listening. She's just telling him, this is what I'm going to have you do, dear. Now just stay calm and stay quiet and don't get caught and everything will be just fine. Now off you go. It's just like, well, that's Washu for you. I'm also kind of enjoying Hachiko as a character. She doesn't have like standout moments like Washu's, but I think out of all the girls so far, I've just been laughing most at the things that she ends up doing, like her sword being used in different ways to disrupt Tenchi's ability to move and so on and so forth. Least favorite, I'm gonna have to go with the other favorite one there, or the other least favorite of everybody's, is the panty shot moment. I get why it's there, but I still don't care for it. It's not my style of thing. I know it definitely works for some people, but I can see why that appearing within like the first minute of the show would definitely give some red flags for some people. Definitely kind of had me worried for a second, hoping that it wasn't going to be too frequent. There's been 3 so far, 3 out of 5 episodes, so we'll see how it goes from there.
Yeah, I mean, my least favorite's also got to be all the panty shots. It's kind of excessive, especially when after all of the beginning, like for the very first scene, panty shot, then it goes back when in the 3rd episode when it has Momo as like a very small child, and it kind of has the exact same scene over again. Like, maybe I could put it aside when she's high schooler, but again, when she's like 9 years old or younger is kind of ridiculous. And then favorite's gonna be pretty typical, it sounds like, with Washu. Specifically, I really liked the her like, well, I can't do it because I'm a genius and I'm famous line, because I haven't seen much other Tenchi yet. So I like, apparently that's a pretty typical line of hers, but that was kind of the first time that I'd ever seen her say that, so that was just pretty fantastic.
Let's see here. What's the keyboard shortcut for copy paste again? No. I'm kidding. But I very much share similar sentiments with everything said here. I'll start least favorite. There's the etchiness aspect, and I think I'm going to delve a little more into that later on. But my least favorite wasn't even. You touched on their Titan. They're clearly drawing parallels there. Even those, for me, I was like, okay, yeah, all right. No, for me, it was the bit of which, who knows how many times this is going to happen again and again. And plus we have this, everything's condensed within the 4 or 5 minutes episode. So it's just like this right off the bat. It's like, hi, I'm Tenchi. I'm going to be the assistant teacher. Close off. Like, it just kind of hit me over the head like a 2x4. Like, there's just no build up for that. There was just it just boom like that, and I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know why it came out of seemingly nowhere, and then it was a callback when they did it with again with Benny and the science club. So there, I'm kind of at least like, okay, I see where that's come from, but like just right off the bat there, like just in the middle of a school day, they have this room just apparently for that. They have all this bondage, kinky equipment. I'm just like, really? Like, that's not Tenchi. Even Washu in her most naughty nurse Washu moments, like, just never quite struck me like that. But anyway, my favorite, obviously, him and his talk with Washu, that was great. Just to vary things up a little bit here, I'll say, because it was a toss-up for me thus far in the 5 episodes, but I'll go ahead and say I love the little build-up in episode 2. We see just a little bit of Washu, and we know, oh, she's going to be coming, and sure enough, she does in episode 3. I really liked, though, in episode 4, speaking of no build-ups, but here I was pleasantly struck over the head with a 2x4, you could say, was Tenchi goes, that voice. And I'm saying the same thing. I'm like, that voice. Oh my God, and sure enough, obviously spoiler alerts, but people, that coming in is is this construction crew. Mihoshi's there, and so immediately all these universe flashbacks, and that just gave me a lot of warm fuzzy feelings inside. So that was hilarious.
7 out of 7 Tenchi fans universally pan or universally recommend. I will agree and start with my least favorite moment was the opener, the introduction of Momo. I don't know if it could get any more cliche than that. Like it was very like, I mean, I said this as I was watching it, as we were working on sub again. Like really, like that's how they did it. So I wasn't angry, but I wasn't disappointed. I was just kind of like, you can do better than that as an opener. One of the other things that I'm not a huge fan of, and it wasn't necessarily a moment. I guess you could narrow it down to a moment, but just how dumb Momo is, or as I should say, this Momo that we are introduced to. She is dumb, like dumber than a sack of wet hammers. Dumb. She is complete. Like Mihoshi is ditzy, but she's not stupid. She's just ditzy. She's a I don't want to be too vulgar, but she's a dumb blonde. Like that is her gimmick, that is her character, but she's not stupid. It's a difference. Momo is dumb. Like it's almost insultingly dumb. So that kind of turned me off a little bit to her character, after the second episode, because it was like I don't know if I can really get behind this character if that's how it's going to be. Luckily, we definitely see a little bit different of that in episode 3 and episode 5. But overall, I'd say that, the opener has kind of been universally panned by everybody so far. But my favorite moment, again, 7 out of 7 Tenchi fans agree, pretty much all of episode 3. And like Pi said, it was almost like they flipped a switch. It was like, there's this new series, and then Tenchi Universe again. It was like Pi said, it came right out of Tenchi Muyo in Love. That third episode was fantastic. And it also proved to me that the people behind this series could make another Tenchi show. They could make another universe or another movie if they wanted to. They have their heads in the right spot. They know what they want to do. But the decisions that they have to make, they have to appeal to many different things. They only have 5 minutes. They have to appeal to the city of Takahashi because, as much as it is a celebration of the franchise, as they've coined the term, it's also a kind of oh hey, go check out Takahashi City. It's an advertisement. So, and also because they have to appeal to the modern anime fan, the modern otaku, if you will. So they could, the crew working on this, they could absolutely make another Tenchi series. But that was my favorite moment, episode 3. It was just classic flashback to what everyone in Tenchi fandom refers to as classic Tenchi. The 5-minute episode length is a very odd one for a show like Tenchi. Do you think it works, or can work for more shows?
I mean, it's working so far. I mean, I know some people have complained about the 5-minute format, which we've tried to rectify a bit with the supercut that we made, where they're all strung back to back together as they are, as Negishi brought up on his Twitter, saying that was the best way to go about watching them. I think it works. It's been working so far. This is my first time going through a series where each episode's only 5 minutes long, or really 3 minutes long of actual content. If you're not going to count the opening and ending to it. There's been other shows that have run in 5-minute formats in Japan. They air in between other shows' episodes. So it's the first time Tenchi's ever gone through this, so it's a bit jarring. Especially for someone like me. Like I said, I've never gone through this, but I think it's working so far. And yeah, I'd say other shows could make a 5-minute format work if they had the right people behind the wheel.
I think it can work for Tenchi. I think it is working for Tenchi. I think of the 5-minute snippets or 3-minute snippets, however you feel like counting, less like episodes and more like scenes. The way I've heard Negishi said on his Twitter was that the episodes are meant to be, and ultimately will be released as, one continuous chunk. They will eventually be released as one complete work. As such, I'm thinking of just each of the individual things. If you go back to like Tenchi Universe or even the OVA, if you look at them, the characters are usually only on screen for a few minutes at a time before they cut to a different scene or they pan to a different direction or so on. So it requires a little bit of patience to watch a scene one day, a scene the next day, and a scene the next day. But ultimately, that's all that's going on. Is it's basically like a very long movie spread out. Now, have other shows done this and been successful? Sure, I believe Hatalia is one of the one series that has done this before and is very, very popular. Is it new format for Tenchi? Yes, of course it is. And as such, people are kind of going, not sure if serious. I don't know if I like this change right here. But I think it'll work. I think it'll work once we get all the characters introduced in particular, and then we can actually go into more development of characters individually and so on. While we've only seen Washu and Mahoshi from our classic cast of characters, we certainly already have all of Tenchi's students, all 7 of Tenchi's students, as well as his supervising teacher. And we got introduced to them fairly well, pretty much rapid fire in episode 1 and 2. And I'm thinking we're working pretty well here.
I was a little worried with the 5, 4, 3 minute, however you want to count it, as people have been saying, episode format. And I do agree that it is a lot better to watch them in rapid succession. Check out the link below for the super episode that we have down there. But I also, like, before the series came out, I just was thinking to myself, like, there have been series like Italia, or even going non-anime, there have been those new Mickey Mouse shorts that Disney has been posting on YouTube. And those are usually about only 5 or 4 minutes long. And they're able to cram so much energy and character in those short minutes that I had relatively, confidence that I believe Tenchi could do the same. And so far, I've seen that, yes, they can squeeze in characteristics and story into that little time frame. Mostly the story is coming out a bit more better than the characters. I do believe the characters need a bit more time to really show their stuff, because we have to go through them like rapid fire, succession, and we're only getting some very glimpse moments of their basic stereotypes. The dumb one, the flirty one, the smart one, the angry one, Dopey and Doc, 7 Dwarfs and Durham there. Yeah, I feel that it's working, but it is better watching them in rapid succession.
When I first said 5-minute episodes, I wasn't too keen on the idea, because when I watch a show, I like to dig in. I like to lean back in my chair at my computer with my headphones on and just get lost for a little while. I tend to like OVA episodes, which tend to be a little bit longer than, a standard TV episode by, 10 minutes or so, sometimes more. I like to dig in and just enjoy myself and get lost in the world for a little while. So 5 minutes wasn't too appealing to me at first, but on the other hand, I saw it as I'm getting a little bit of Tenchi every single weekday. And that's kind of weird to think about, because most shows will do an episode a week, and you're waiting for a long time. You take it like half a year to get through the whole season, and instead we're getting this done in 2 months with the new episode every single day. This could have been an absolute disaster if anybody else had been directing it. I think it takes a very special type of director to be able to cram what is essentially trying to push story, character development, and still maintain understandability into 3.5-4 minutes per episode. And so far, Negishi has shown his chops. People remember him for Universe and the 2 movies associated with it, and he's shown back then what he could do with full-time episodes, but now he's showing us what he can do with, an immense amount of pressure. You have to stuff in a lot in several minutes. So he's getting his group together. They're showing us a little bit about each character, rapid fire every episode, but it's long enough for you to understand this is this person's role, this is what they do, this is their personality, next person. There's no time wasted, with the exception of course, the egregious panty shot we all mentioned, and the regrettable decision to have a recap episode for the 5th episode. If they do that every 5 episodes, it's kind of a strange decision when you consider how frequently and how time-starved the series is at the moment. I see a lot of complaints about it, and I kind of agree. I thought it was a little unnecessary. Though, again, he didn't completely waste it, because we got a sneak peek into Momo's personality and how she's smarter than she lets on in the series. Because as mentioned earlier, she's very dumb. And not in like a Mahoshi type way, but in an even worse way, at least from what we've seen. But, she's naming off the square footage of the school with like scientific exactness, and can even tell us exactly how much that is of a specific Okayama Japanese garden, in percentages of square feet. That's crazy. So she's smart in there. And that it was a strange way to go about giving us that little bit of information, but it was there indeed. Should other shows do this? I don't really think so. I mean, they could try, but it's got to be very specific types of things. I think like this is interesting, because those Mickey shorts that MangaMan had mentioned, I really love those. They're 5 to 7 minutes a piece, very well directed, so much energy and so much stuff happens in them, but it's not a solid plot line. Each one does not have any continuity between the next. They exist as singular entities, as Mickey and Co. Just doing things like it's funny. Like and one of them, Goofy, I believe, turns into a zombie at one point and chases Mickey around, and that's obviously not going to be real. But in this case, they're trying to tell a whole story. There is continuity between episodes. It's not episodic in nature like how Space Dandy was, at least up until the final few, where it turns out, oh, actually that was all real and it was all interconnected. This is a solid storyline being told here, and I think it definitely requires a very specific director. It requires very, very precise editing, writing, and restraint to be able to pull that off. So others could, but I don't think they should, because I don't know. It's a very challenging way to go about the show, and I think that so far the team has proven themselves to be able to handle that very well.
I think it's very interesting that they're doing it in these small little snippets. But again, they are each really they're a separate scene for an entire episode, if you will. So like an entire week, you can imagine it's about the same amount of content as you would get in a week of any other anime airing at the normal like 20 minutes once a week. Because like in total, as you see in our supercut, like it is about 20 minutes, maybe a little bit less because of the ending stuff and that the recap episode. But for the most part, it is about the same length in total. So it is very interesting that they're just giving us one scene each day. So it's not leaving as much of a gaping hole for a cliffhanger where we would get in any other episode, because we know, like, even if there happens to be a cliffhanger on a Friday, like the end of the recap episode was like sort of a cliffhanger, but like it was an understandable one. But even then, we still only have to wait another 2 days for Monday to get the next installment of what's going on. So I feel like it's almost better than a regular anime in that capacity. So I think it's very commendable that they're doing this, and they're trying a different format for how normal anime have been done. I don't know if they're planning to do, or if they intended this to be like paving a new way for debuting new series, or if they were just doing it like because this is their like testing the waters for Tenchi again. But I think this is a very interesting format for displaying new anime, and I'd be interested to see if they're willing to continue with this style.
Well, I think that's a great point, Titan, and I was kind of wondering myself back and forth was how much of this is from a production standpoint. It's less money and less of a commitment to do these shorter episodes and kind of testing the waters. Seeing how people respond to an aged series like Tenchi, and how much of it is just. I think MangaMan was bringing that up with other anime, with other other entities and stuff, and of course with YouTube and the internet and stuff. The consumers, the viewers these days, we're having more and more stuff thrown at us all the time. There's stuff competing for our attention, and everyone's busier. Everyone's go, and so I think there's a lot of pros to be said, especially from production standpoint of well, let's give it to them in a little bit more bite-sized package, if you will. And I like the every weekday, like Neil was saying. That's been quite an experience for me. I had a long day. I can go home and I can watch a little bit of Tenchi, and then I only have to wait a few more hours to get the next little next bite-sized bit. And also for that the with commenting on how busy we all are and stuff, I'm busy as heck right now. There's been obviously a couple times where I've kind of fallen behind on keeping up with the episode, and when you guys get them subbed, which is awesome, you guys are right on top of that. And but they're in such small bite-sized bits, I can go back and catch up really quickly, and I don't have to fret about unfortunately, I did with several series this season. I got behind, and you get behind just a couple weeks, and you're kind of like, that's it. You missed it when you're super busy. You have to catch that train later. But it also, there's cons to it as well. I think we're getting not just everyone's commented on, a lot of old school fans here not liking the etchiness, if you will, not liking the archetypes of the and obviously she's going to be the hot teacher that has the hots form, and she's the data gathering one, and she's the blah blah blah. But so with this short format, very short format, all of that's condensed, and it's like this unsaturated pure injection of like etchy harem-y rom-com, and so it's just they have to pack in a lot. And I think, like Neil said, if anybody could do it, I'm putting my faith in Nagishi. And I think for these new characters especially, they're very one-dimensional right now, but think about how much screen time they've had, like just minuscule amounts. So hopefully with time, we're going to see more development there. But so yeah, in short, I do think I think it'll work for Tenchi. I think also that I think we're going to be seeing more of this. Not that it hasn't been done already, as previously mentioned, in between shows, little things like that. I remember I watched one a few years back. It's more for children, really, but so don't tell anyone. But Puyo Puyo, that's a fun little watch. If ever you just have a dark rain cloud over your head and want something quick and fun. So I think, yeah, with everybody's competing for our attention nowadays, and we're all seemingly very busy, and but with the way things are now, I think that short format, I think it's got potential.
I think Tenchi has done pretty much everything. Like every genre that you could squeeze out of Tenchi has done and has attempted one way or another. And I think a change of format is, I guess, the next step in challenging to see what Tenchi could fit into. Tenchi is like the octopus. Like, can it still get out? Can it still work if it's put in this confined space? And I think the going for a shorter, quicker approach, I think it can work. And in some ways, much like Titan had said, I think it works better for this particular thing they're going for, because, I'm not gonna lie, of all the new girls, the only ones I really have any kind of vested interest in so far are Benny and Momo. Despite the fact what I said earlier about Momo, saying that I thought she was dumb, and I thought her introduction into the series was not to my taste. She is one of the main characters. She is, and after episode 3, and part of what we hear in episode 5, there's more to it than that, and there's more to her than that. But everybody else, and even with the new designs, they're rather generic. They're better than what I would consider normally, but there's nothing really about them that's ultra fantastic. And I think the short, sweet, and to the point approach of doing everything, there's never a dull moment. There's never a moment where there's a lull. And I think, that really carries, that and the phenomenal directing, really carries, kind of hides the negatives of the new characters and the, I don't want to say generic high school format, but it's really quick. Like, there's nothing, you never really have a moment to let your brain sit until the episode's over. So some of the things, even if you're paying attention critically, you're not really thinking about because it's not dead air. And, I think that's one of the things that really hurt War on Geminar was the fact that the episodes were like 50 minutes long. So they don't drag. And I think that's one of the things that really, really helps this series out in this format, in particular with this situation, is because you're going 100 miles an hour until you hit the very end of the episode. Even with episode 3, which was all about kind of this alternate dimension, if that's even what it is, or time travel, there was never a stopping point. It was a roller coaster until you got back in line and got off the ride. Now, with all that being said, do you think that Ai Tenchi Muyo will be a one-off, or do you think they will make a full-fledged series out of it if it does well enough? Elaborate.
I don't know. It's hard to say. When I first found out this new series was going to be set in high school, I wasn't too excited, in all honesty, because I don't watch high school anime where they do the whole panhandling fan service type deal. Again, the short format for it works, I think, and I don't know that they'd be willing to expand upon that part of it and make a full-fledged series out of it. I think more than anything, what will end up happening is if this show does well, we can get a new TV series out of it or a new movie out of it. A Universe 2 or, Tenchi Muyo in Love 3, something along those lines. But in order for that to happen, this new show's got to do well. And I sincerely hope it does.
I'm gonna echo Craze in the sense that it's very possible that we may not get a direct continuation of this series, but what I might expect is that you might get a new spin-off like Tenchi Universe or Tenchi in Tokyo that is maybe quasi set in this universe, or that has some throwbacks to this particular story. But a direct continuation, I'm not sold on yet until we see the end game of this one. Once we see the end game of this one and it leaves itself open to continuation, I can see it continuing. Essentially, keep in mind, we're really, really early in this. We haven't seen really much more than 15, 18 minutes of content, and it's kind of still early in the game to say whether or not this story would have a continuation or not. However, Craze is correct in the sense that again, AIC was bought and sold a lot in the last decade. So they're looking to try and see what markets are available. They're testing the waters with this series to see if Tenchi's still a viable entity that can make them money still. So if this show does well, it's very likely we might get more Tenchi, we might get more Hell, we might get more El Hazard, we might get more of these AIC shows that we saw back in the 90s, if this show does well. Now, something I just thought of while Craze was speaking was something that might happen out of this is instead of having a series that follows it directly, what they might do is perhaps split the show and have the students go into a spin-off and have Tenchi and company in the main line go off into their own series. It might branch instead of just continuing directly. Again, still too early to tell, but it is something that might be thought about.
I mentioned this in several of my Tenchi related videos on my channel that I am still worried about the fact that we have two sets of harems. We have the old girls and we have the new girls. I'm very echoing what Pi and Craze have been saying, in that if these new girls get a spin-off, will they get, like, will these new girls be able to work on their own without the old cast supporting them? Like, will they be able to generate enough fans in order to support themselves in their own type of spin-off series? I have no doubt that the old cast would be able to make a comeback in a spin-off series and the like. As Pi was saying, it is really early and it's hard to tell right now. I myself need to see how this series is going to further expand upon, as we've been seeing in little glimpses and in episode 3, that everything is not all that it seems. Like, the whole school life aspect of it might not become the focus in later episodes. It seems that there's going to be something bigger going on in this, and I hope there is. I would honestly love to see this series turn more Tenchi than Etchi.
I'm on the side of Pi here in that it's really too early to tell for sure. I need to see how the end game's going to play out. And even then, to pull another example, we had Tokyo at the very end of it. It was kind of, hinted that, she would return. Yugi would come back in some degree in the future, grown up, and maybe give the girls more hassle like she had previously. And we never got a direct continuation off that. In fact, we never got anything more about that. There was one novel that I think was published the year it started, so it wasn't a continuation or anything. So yeah, it was. I'm waiting to see how it plays out. But on the other hand of things, they have designed a whole new bundle of girls. It's not just one. It would be really crazy for them to design that entire cast and then just have them for 150 minutes of content and then never come back again. This will probably bank on how popular the series is and how well received the girls end up being by the time the final credits roll on this series. I also think that this is more a litmus test for the marketplace to see how well Tenchi can do in today's market. This right now is, as MangaMan mentioned, more Ichi than Tenchi, and I'd like to see more Tenchi than Ichi, but we have plenty of time to move in that direction, and I think that's what Negishi is going to do. He's going to straddle the line between what the market over there seems to want more of, while pushing more of the Tenchi as we go along, and say, okay, here we go. Plot's happening. Here's the science fiction, space opera, comedy that everybody remembers from the 90s and that they love dearly. I think he's going to eventually deliver on that. How much this will leave for Ai Tenchi to have like an Ai Tenchi 2 or some other iteration of the show with a different name and the same cast, remains to be seen, but it does leave the possibility open. If this does well enough, could we see, like a Tenchi Muyo in Love 3? Could we see a Universe 2? Could we see an OVA 4? Could we see another offshoot series featuring yet another cast of characters with another designer at the helm? As a full-length series, the possibilities are endless. We just have to see if this does have water in the marketplace, and then what AIC, or what they call themselves as a studio now, AIC Plus, apparently, plans to do after this ends.
I agree that it's pretty much too early to tell whether more can come about yet. But that being said, if like here in the Americas is any estimate on the test of seeing people's interest in Tenchi. I mean, before the series started coming out, like, we saw none of the major fan subgroups were even interested in picking it up. They thought it was just like something small, nobody would really care. And then we started translating it and everybody's interested. Like, within the first day, we had over 10,000 just downloads, not even like views of the episode itself. So like there's definitely a lot of interest for Tenchi right now. So I don't know if that necessarily is the same over towards Japan, but it's very possible that people have been in general waiting a very long time for this, and that they're very excited to see more of Tenchi.
Well, and here I thought I'd be so ahead of the curve on this, but I should know better by now. Having you guys in and you know, a lot of sharp minds in here, obviously, is I'm thinking even, you know, longer term, as you guys have mentioned here, for the franchise as a whole. This is getting Tenchi back out there, and I think I think in their own unique ways. Like we have MangaMan here with us, who's got activity on his channel for it. People are interested, and then also Mr. Titan of Chaos here. You know, this is introducing you to Tenchi as a whole. And I think that's really cool. And you know, it gets written off a lot by a lot, not you, Mr. Chaos, but by some, you know, like, oh, that's an older series, oh, you know, but this is the kind of thing where it's something new coming out. We have something new here. People are talking about it. People are buzzing about it, and I think inevitably, people who are in a similar spot as you, Titan, kind of coming in and oh, so this is Tenchi, huh? You know, or maybe they heard about it a little bit or something, and if they're checking this out, I think inevitably they're gonna go start digging, and they're gonna start finding the quote unquote good old stuff, and so I definitely think there's potential for Tenchi as a whole there for this continuity or this series. Well, like everyone said, well, you know, we'll see. You know, it's so hard to judge these new girls because of how little screen time they've had thus far. As we're doing this, you know, right on the eve of the second week's going to be starting up, but so they for me personally, I think they'd need a lot more development to warrant that, and of course, excellent speculation on would they kind of split them up and have them be their own thing, and then Tenchi and the main girls, the main cast, be their own spinoff, separate of that. Because as of right now, unfair, true right now, but as of right now, you know, I'm sorry, but none of these, you know, the setting or the characters, they really couldn't keep themselves afloat. Just picture if this wasn't Tenchi, if this didn't have Tenchi in it, if Tenchi wasn't lifting him up, this would pretty much go under the radar for me, like so many other school / you know, rom-com ecchi newer anime. I'm sorry, but that's kind of just me being real frank. But so yeah, it's just great to be right at the forefront of all this and just talking about it right now. And I think I'm hoping, you know, I like Momo as a character, just namely because she seems to be the only one who doesn't instantly have some sort of fetish for tearing off Tenchi's clothes the first time she meets him. But also, I'm wondering if the recap episode, if that's not because it's kind of a disjunct to the narrative flow of it, and wondering, is this actually Momo's character, or is this more of like it's just her voice actress, her seiyuu in character, and it's quote unquote Momo, but she's taking on the role of a narrator, you know, like an omniscient narrator. Okay, so here's what happened. Even though Momo wasn't here for the science club part, here's what happened. And also her throwing in the stats and about it's a very nice job you guys putting in the translator's notes, so people like me know what she's talking about there, is getting back to, I think, probably what, at least speaking for myself, kind of forgot in all the excitement of the new characters and the new series coming out is, from the get-go, this has been one of the objectives of this series has been highlighting, you know, local attractions and local, you know, tourist spots and city icons and things like that around the Okayama area. So I feel that was one of the purposes of the recap episode there. In addition to, because you'd think, why would we need a recap when there's only been like 15 minutes of screen time there? I think that's one of the reasons for it right there. And it's hard to believe that in only a week, as of this recording, let alone when it gets out there. Like, we'll see if I'm proven right or wrong here, but I'm kind of thinking that they might do that at the end of every week, just as again, to fulfill that purpose that this has had from the get-go, and probably was what led to it getting off the ground and led to it getting produced in the first place. Was, hey, this would be a great opportunity for tourism and promoting the Okayama prefecture and surrounding areas and all that. So yeah. Anyway, here's to the future.
I will say that, and I've said this a number of times, and I'll say it until it happens. And Neil pretty much took the words right out of my mouth, stealing my notes. But I think Ai Tenchi Muyo is a litmus test to see how truly strong the Tenchi brand is, still in this day and age in 2014. And if it does well, I have no doubt that we will see something. We will see another TV series of some type. It will be a TV series, or very... TV series are the midway. They're the easiest to produce. And, looking at... I was thinking about this when I was gathering my notes. Put it in this perspective. After I looked at episode 3, Ai Tenchi Muyo is a lot like the Time and Space Adventures. It's very... You can do anything in the Time and Space Adventures. You could go anywhere. Take a look, it's in a book. It lets you have a lot more freedom than you would normally, so to speak, and something like that. And it came in a 3 or 4 episode package. I kind of feel like that's what Ai Tenchi Muyo is. This Time and Space Adventures being used as a way to promote Tenchi Universe in so many words. I kind of feel like that's what Ai Tenchi Muyo is. Ai Tenchi Muyo is kind of like AIC's sampler package. And it's a win-win situation because they get money. All of the money that went into the advertising, that didn't come from AIC. That came direct from the people of Takahashi City. They raised money. All of that money went to all of the billboards and the stuff and how much it gets put on TV. That's all them. They really want this to be big because, it's tourism of Takahashi City. So I have no doubt that there's probably stipulations in there. But I think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to, Tenchi hasn't dated in a while, but and so they're thrusting him back out into the world, and they're like, all right, well, the world has changed a lot in the, 15, 20 years when you first started, and especially the last decade, which you basically weren't even there for. So, here's how the world is. Let's see how well you can adapt to it. And so far, like Titan had said, and no fan subgroup talked about doing it. And the one group that we had contacted, just, they were like, we hadn't seen the original, so we're not going to do it. Nobody wanted to do it. We did the first episode, got an amazing response, 12,000 downloads, probably more as of this moment. And that really... that kicked off everybody. Everybody's like, whoa, maybe this 5-minute series, they might have looked at it from like the perspective of a Hetalia, like, what is this? It's an old series. But that shows right there that people wanted to see this. Like, people really wanted to see this, to see how it was, to see how it would do. And I think that's kind of what the general consensus is. Everybody has their eye on Ai Tenchi Muyo, and they are wanting to see it do well, more than anything. I think... the general analysis has been, I think, a little bit too critical, but I can't blame people for that. But I definitely think if this series does well, we will be seeing not only more Tenchi, but this is something Neil had brought up, and I guess, MangaMan had brought up as well. I don't think this will be the last time we'll see these girls. It might be the last time we see these girls in 5-minute format, but I don't think it'll be the last time. They put a lot of work into these characters, and I think even if they don't show up as mainline characters, I wouldn't be surprised in the least if a new Tenchi universe or a spin-off Tenchi series happens and another Time and Space adventure happens, that they wouldn't pop up in that particular TV episode. That particular high school, crazy world that one of the classic girls dreamed up. So that's my thought on that one. I definitely think the possibility is there, and I think that is exactly what they're doing with this one. And we will open it up to final thoughts and general discussion.
I have this paper here. It's raining on the way to work today, so I kind of got a little wet. But there was a note that Chuck wanted me to read aloud. It says, what's that say? It says Chuck fucks anime? No, wait, hang on. Chuck saves anime. Yes, Chuck saves anime was what he wanted me to say on live TV for everybody to hear. We do have to thank him though for introducing us to Titan and bringing Titan into the Tenchi verse, as it were, because this has been an incredible time for the fans. A new Tenchi series for the first time since 2003 it should be huge news to them. And reaction was pretty negative at the start, seeing that they started talking about the new girls first. But finally, when the old girls got introduced, it was like the bomb got dropped, and suddenly everybody's head started turning like, ooh, this is suddenly Tenchi again. And kind of as we saw, 7 out of 7 people agree. Tenchi, the number one scene for everybody so far was Washu with Tenchi. It felt like old Tenchi. Like if the animation style was drawn to look a decade older, I guess, a decade younger, however you want to say it. If it looked like it came from AIC Studios in the 90s to up to 2000, you could probably say that belonged to any of the Tenchi series because it was classic Tenchi. That is still there. And I think Negishi is very well aware of that and straddling that line. So then it came time for, okay, how is everybody going to watch this? And, as Dagon had mentioned, we had no fan subgroups who were interested in taking it up. We contacted one. They were kind of indifferent to it. They said, well, we didn't see the original, so we don't really know if we want to. We started thinking about, okay, here, what can we do to make this happen? And goddamn, we made it happen. And Titan, we definitely owe that to you big time. And I hope, I've been very happy to see the positive reception everybody's had to the episodes. There's, of course, been plenty of critical and outright negative thoughts towards the series so far. And I think everybody is pretty well justified in their beliefs. But, there are some people who are like, oh, this is an episodic series with no continuation. And I have to wonder to myself, are we watching the same show? Like, is it really? It does the 5-minute per episode limitation really confuse you that much that suddenly the show isn't a show anymore? It's just a series of non-connected shorts. No, there's plot going on, and when you watch it together with the supercut, things make more sense. And it's kind of funny because I saw a lot of people who were confused by the start of episode 4 where Tenchi runs out of the room in the school and is naked and is freaking out like, oh god, where am I going to go? And people were wondering why. Well, don't you remember just 2 days ago he was strapped into an Iron Maiden with a Hannibal Lecter getup. They were there trying to get some information out of him. Surely by that point they'd had him derobed before he was able to finally escape from their clutches. So it's kind of funny to see that some people are complaining about the recap episode, myself included, but some of those very same people were utterly confused by the fact that, okay, we just jumped from episode 3, which was giving us a glimpse into the setup of how this series actually came to be in the first place, to back to modern day times. When you view that all together as one solid episode, though, it comes across, perfect. It's very well done. So, the supercut was also a pretty great idea. And again, I recommend, if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. The link below. Let us know what you think about it. But Negishi feels that the show is best experienced when all together. I think that I feel pretty similarly so far. And, it's been pretty fun to get to watch the series build for the first time. Like, nobody knows what's going to happen. We're able to anticipate together. Pi and I know a dirty secret that nobody else in here knows about what's coming up next week. And, we got to just sit there and chatter about it. And it was like, teeming with excitement. Like, yes, we can do this again with Tenchi. It feels great. So, thank you again, Titan, for helping us be able to make this a reality for everybody. And, thank you for everybody watching along with us, because it's a hell of a ride, this show so far.
if any of you are interested in checking out some of the videos on my channel, I'm doing Ai Tenchi Muyo react videos for the episode as they come out. As Titan of Chaos and all the other great guys here in the forum sub the episodes, I'll be giving my own personal reactions to them as they come out. So definitely check those out.
I'd say that's about it, and I'd like to thank everybody for jumping in today, especially the two newcomers, MangaMan and Titan. For those of you listening, new, old, or otherwise, if you like what you hear, then subscribe. Follow us on Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, about any social networking website you can think of. And make sure that you tune in every day for the next 9 weeks for the continued adventures of Ai Tenchi Muyo, translated by Tenchi Forum Translations. And if you're just getting back into Tenchi or finding Tenchi for the first time, make sure you head on over to tenchiforum.com, where the discussion, much like the carnival, never ends. Until next time, stay gold.